presentation. Great. Thank you, Samir.
You're welcome.
Welcome everyone to our first community meeting for Quincy Street Play Area. My name is Max Sell. I'm a project manager with Boston Parks and Rec here, overseeing the improvement project we're discussing tonight. Parks is happy that you could join us and is excited to get started on tonight's program. I do have just a few housekeeping items to go over first. Next slide, please. We did not receive any accommodation requests for tonight's meeting, so our program will be presented in English only. We will, however, leave these instructions up for just a moment so folks viewing this can find it later a little more easily. Tonight's meeting will be recorded and posted to the project website in the next few days. That way, folks who couldn't make it can later access the presentation and discussion we'll have tonight. Please remember to keep your cameras and microphones off during the presentation. If you don't want to be recorded tonight, please keep them off during the discussion section as well. Next slide, please. To those that do want to contribute their voices to our discussion, I ask you to do so in a respectful way. Everyone here will have an equal chance to speak, as well as an equal expectation to be heard during the discussion. We do want to hear from everyone that wants to share, so please keep your questions or comments brief. That way we can accommodate as many as possible in the limited amount of time we have here tonight. If you've already been called on, please give others an opportunity to speak before taking another turn. Remember that this meeting is just one part of the larger discussion we're having about the park. Conversations you have with your neighbors outside of scheduled meetings are just as important to building a shared vision as the one we'll be having tonight. If you want to discuss anything in more detail after the meeting or have any questions, please email me at max.sell@boston.gov. Next slide, please. To those of you that do participate in tonight's discussion, please use the raise hand feature in order to be given speaking permissions when called on. If you have thoughts during the meeting, do feel free to add them to the chat instead of raising your hand. Next slide, please. So just a quick look at what to expect tonight. I'll be introducing the project design team and giving a brief overview of the project before handing it over to them for the presentation. Afterwards, we'll hold our discussion section where you'll have a chance to share your thoughts or ask questions about the project. We'll finish with a little bit of info on our survey and our next meeting. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, I am Max Sell, project manager at Boston Parks and Rec. I'm working on the improvement project here at Quincy Street Play Area. With me tonight is Michael McMillan, our community outreach coordinator. Our neighborhood liaison for Roxbury is Asha Janae. And presenting tonight, we have David Warner and Samir Boite. And completing the design team is Yiling Wang. Next slide, please. So I would like to just pause here for a moment to give any elected officials here an opportunity to share. I don't believe I saw any in the meeting. So I am just going to go ahead and continue. As you may know, we conducted our first survey through the summer to get a sense of interest in the neighborhood. Tonight, the design team will present their analysis of the current condition of the park and hear about your experiences there. After this meeting, the design team will develop several concepts that incorporate what we hear from this community. At our next community meeting, we'll ask you to determine your preferred concept in whole or in part, and from there, the team will refine that concept into a final design. Next slide, please. So there are a number of factors we account for when undergoing an improvement project to any park. Community input is one piece that helps to guide that design process, and that's why we're so happy to welcome you here tonight. This meeting, again, just one part of the community input we're asking you for. The conversation is meant to be ongoing and to take place outside of this meeting room just as much. Next slide, please. So another one of those factors are the priorities of the city of Boston. I love the city of Boston. One of the reasons is for how visible it manages to adapt to the changing needs of its citizens and its environment. By envisioning an accessible, healthy, and resilient future for its residents and visitors, Boston aims to be a city that people both want and can comfortably live in. Next slide, please. Now, Parks and Rec's role in helping realize that vision is by applying the principles of equal access and availability to guide our work. We add utility by valuing inclusivity, not only in the park that's built, but in the process of creating those improvements. We want to promote physical as well as emotional connections here between neighbors and with the park. Now, with that, I'm going to hand things over to the design team for their portion of tonight's program. Samir, you have our attention.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Max. This is Samir. I'm with the design team. Just a little brief background. So we've been working with the city of Boston since 2010. I think we've designed over more than 10 Boston Parks projects. And very excited to be here in front of you to sort of reimagine what you envision this park to be. So as part of today's meeting, we are really only kind of talking about the existing conditions and as a listening session. We are not here to come with any preconceived ideas. One of the things we do as part of the existing conditions is to look at the context of the neighborhood, of the other open space amenities that you have. And we look at in the context of sort of walking distance. And typically we look at, because when you have children who are walking, 10-minute walk is sort of considered like a decent walk, not going, so it's a walking distance. And within that framework of 0.5 radius, if you look at the site there, the pinkish color, it's like parks that are just sort of the playground. Then the blue ones, they're slightly bigger in size, and they are mostly either the courts or the fields. The purplish lavender color, they are bigger, larger park, I would say, and they also have playgrounds. They also have hard courts. In the very nearby vicinity, you have the number 2, which is Holborn Street Tot Lot. Number 9 is the Beaufort Junior Tot Lot. I haven't had a chance to visit those tot lots, but looking at those recent photos from Google, it seems they were recently renovated. So do drop into chat if you have any thoughts of some of these existing playgrounds, if there's anything that you like about these playgrounds or not, and which do you use it. It's helpful for us to see that in the context of what other parks, near adjacent parks, is the community using. The next one is really the immediate within very short distance. And if you look at the short distance in the context, this is kind of in the Roxbury neighborhood, but it's really borderline Dorchester. It's almost at the intersection of Blue Hill and the Quincy Street. There's a bus stop right in front of the playground. So from a public transportation is accessible. And then it also shows you where the commuter rail is not in the walking distance here, but it was in the previous slide. But it's close to Boston Latin Academy, right across your site. It's the Haynes Early Education Center, which does have a sizable open space area, but it's not like for the open to the public. It's fenced in, so it's kind of private. And again, you can chime in the chat, but from what our observations
It's open to the neighborhood.
Okay. It is open to the neighborhood. Thank you, Laura, for chiming that. When we did the site visits, it was fenced in. But thank you for the clarification. And there are some couple of community gardens. And then we'll get to specifically now talking about the Quincy Street Park playground area. So this is just really like kind of looking at from the street view, the connection. This is like if you are coming on Blue Hill Ave and making a right on Quincy Street and walking towards the park. That's the top left image there. Because you have the building apartment before and there's a retaining wall and the fences and those trees, the sight lines are visible. So when you're walking, you not easily can notice there's a park there. It's a small park, but it's kind of showing you that you have to get up close to the park to know there's a park there. The other one is showing you if you are looking from the parking lot of the Clarion apartment, there's a big grade change there. Those of you are familiar with it, it's a sunken site, the Clarion apartments and the retaining wall and the fence. And on the other side of the retaining wall is the Quincy Park playground. Down below, you're familiar with it, which Laura, you mentioned that is open to the public. That's the Haynes Early Education Center. So now I am on Quincy Street looking towards Blue Hill Ave, and there's a bus stop. And even the sidewalk there, it's slightly sloping. It continues to go up towards as you go towards the Boston Latin Academy side. And from here, you can see there's a little bit of a stone wall, and it's not quite a seating wall, but I've seen some people rest on the seating wall as they're waiting for their buses. And now we'll dive deeper a little bit into the site. So this is just like an aerial sort of a program map. Let's call this as like a program. What are your existing programs that you have? Again, you're familiar with it. But to show you, you have a full-size basketball court at the back of the park. Uh, when you enter the park, as the where you saw from Quincy Street, there's a two seat walls. When you enter there, you have a sort of a picnic area, I would call it, a grove. It's a grove of trees with some picnic tables. From this plan, it's hard to tell, but there is a little grade change. Those walkways, the blue walkways, when you get to the basketball court, they are slightly sloping, but they're accessible. The basketball court is like around 3 feet higher than the sort of the street entrance. And this park, as does no playground, but it does have sort of fitness elements. And those fitness nodes we'll talk about, those are 4 different zones. That is number B. Those are the 4 fitness zones spread across. And there are a couple of benches by the basketball courts. Now we'll go look at just sort of the existing conditions. Obviously, the existing conditions are not in good condition, and that's why we're working with Boston Parks to renovate your park. We'll be looking at all of these entrance walls like as part of the design from structural integrity and stuff. But showing you the entrance wall we talked about. It's not really quite seating wall because of the angle of the cap, so it's not meant for really seating and comfortable. You have the retaining wall and the fences on either side. Like one side is a Clarion apartment and the other side is some residential apartments as well. The back of the basketball court on the lower right image, that's a pretty big substantial retaining wall there. And behind it, we did, myself and Yiling from our team, we did go drive around. And it's, again, a residential housing and it's actually garage parking behind that wall. And again, it slopes down the retaining wall. But then all the perimeter of this park, it's fenced in and it's chain link fencing. These are the sort of the fitness areas. Again, this park was done many years ago. Some of you are probably familiar with now the new fitness equipments in other Boston parks in your neighborhood. I would categorize these as mostly some stretching stations and pull-up and chin-up bars. No sort of mechanical movement of fitness. But there are 4 sort of fitness zones. I do want to make a little point here that at some point, probably dating back, there may have been some other shrub planting or ornamental planting, but right now the current conditions are it's just lawn and trees in the entire park. Your benches. So do you have like decent seating? That, as I said, mentioned the picnic area, and I'd love to hear your thoughts after when we get into the discussion of how this park is exactly being used. But what we have are sort of this 4 picnic chess tables with the inlays, and the material what you see here is recycled plastic. Now with Boston Parks, there are alternative materials. We'll work with wood, this plastic, and metal as well. But right now, what you have is recycled plastic picnic tables. You have benches that are back benches with armrests, and there's just 2 benches that are overlooking the basketball court. And there's one drinking fountain. We didn't have a chance to test it because of the wind when it was operational. Love to hear your thoughts on that. And there is 2 trash cans on this site. Moving on then to the main thing that's at the basketball court. Through our observation, because the condition of the courts are so bad, we really didn't see kids playing on it. But I'm sure when the court was in good condition, the neighborhood kids probably were using it. But it's a full-size basketball court, as I mentioned. It does have sports lighting. The middle image on the bottom right is showing you the retaining wall. It's kind of slopes down, and the tall wall behind is the one that's with the garage spaces of the residential units are behind it. And there's just 2 benches, a spectator for people to watch while kids are playing the games. The last one is talking about lighting and sort of security. So for a small park, it appears to be there's plenty of lighting because you have 2 backs, the sports lighting at the basketball courts, and there are 6 pedestrian lighting. And there's a total of 6 that are shown in the yellow. And you have a photo of that. Plus also there is a street lighting right in front of almost by the entrance of the park that lights the sidewalk as you enter the park. And we do also do like tree inventory. It's important, as like Max showed us, like terms of the resilience, climate resilience is one of the goals of Boston parks. So trees provide shade and also help with the heat island. So we have done some assessment. This tree inventory assessment, we have a detailed inventory assessment that's done by a certified arborist. There are only 4 types of like trees here. That's the elm trees, which is native. The silver maple is also native, and your tulip tree, there's only one tulip tree, but that's also native. The only non-native tree in the park is the Japanese pagoda tree, and there are about 5 of those. Overall assessment from the arborist was the trees are fair to good in condition, but he did recommended some good pruning of them, of these trees for the longevity and some of them for sightlines. So that's kind of what's covering like the overall, what the program elements in the park. You got the basketball court, you got the fitness. We talked about the surface conditions. You got mostly concrete walkways that are slow because of the grade change. Side amenities are the recycled plastic and planting fitness. And with that, it's really, the main part of this meeting today is what are the sort of the elements you want to see with this park renovation? How do you use the site? And I know there's only this meeting. This is the first of the 3 meetings we're gonna have. So like to hear what from your observations, how neighbors are using it, even though we only have 2 of the participants. I'm not sure, Max, if more folks join. But we'll open up to discussion. And first is really kind of your observation, your thoughts on throughout your communities, how this park is being used, and what are some ideas? Like, what do you think as we redesign this park? What would you like to see at this park? Max, you want to chime in
Sure
before
thing.
we open
Thanks
it
so
up?
much for that, Samir. That was a really nice presentation. Yes, I know we only have a few of you here, so if you would rather not come off mute and would rather participate in the chat or send messages, that's just fine. It does sound like you have a pretty good handle on kind of what this park is and what's in the neighborhood. And it's really nice. I don't think we have too many parks that are more focused on adult fitness, a basketball court and kind of adult recreation, as well as some passive recreation going here. So I don't know if anyone would like to speak. Please feel free to come off mute and share.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, this is Laura Younger. I'm sorry I couldn't find the little hand thing.
Oh, no worries.
Well, let me say, I live right in the back of the play area.
Okay.
And I would say a couple of things. One, the kids do use those basketball courts. I can hear that tap tap now, and it's a good thing. But there's the park has no identity because, there's groups of adult males who use those workout stations, and when they're there, others don't kind of go there. Like younger kids, people with younger kids to sit. Some families do come with little kids and sit there and let them run around. And I would say this: there was a compact that was made with Haynes when they were first getting started, because we pushed to get money for those renovations of their tot lot. It was supposed to be open to the neighborhood from Savin Street. Now, we know how those compacts go. People, just stop honoring them. But that was very important because what we saw it is, since you didn't have a good, like, place for tot lot, that then the Haynes School would be across the street. So that was the whole story. That's why I say it should be open to the public. But how that's working, I don't know. I don't think it is per se. And then the other thing I would just throw in your design mix is if there's a renovation, there has to be a tasteful and airy break between the play area and the garages that actually is right on the plot line. And the only reason that that's important is because people climb up, and particularly kids that get on those garage roof. Some of them are kind of deteriorated, but they get up, they climb up, and then climb over and come through. That's all. So,
Got it.
so really making thinking about that is probably helpful because it's a safety issue. So I think that's important. And finding an identity. I mean, if it's going to be a basketball court, then there needs to be programs in it, and let's do basketball. If it's going to be a adult male workout area, let's make it that way, because sometimes they push, either come up on motorcycles or they push down that thing that keeps cars out, and that kind of thing. So
Mhm.
so there has to be some uh, um, decision about what is this park going to be. And so and then finally I would say all those good ideas mean nothing if there's no great enforcement of things. And like, yeah, it's grass and everything, it's lousy grass, it's not good grass, but it's weedy grass. And then the trees, well, you're saying they need pruning, how come they haven't been pruned? That kind of thing. So if we're not going to keep it up, I would have less trees, because that creates problems and things that need less maintenance, whatever the outcome. And if it's now a thing where the Haynes School is blocked from the neighborhood, then frankly, the question is raised as to a place for tots.
Mhm.
That's
Thank
that
you.
that's separated. Do
Mhm.
you know what I mean? If there are
Yep.
men working out in there, and I've
Right.
walked by there and I've sat on the wall at myself and sat in there, but it's age appropriate things should be companionable in there.
Absolutely. And that's, first of all, thank you so much for sharing. Those are wonderful insights. I do want to ask, well, I especially want to kind of latch on to this notion about the park not having an identity. And that's really kind of what we're here to ask you to help us establish. I do want to know kind of what you think about the size of the park and maybe how many of those specific programs could be accommodated. But yes, I agree with you. We do need to be paying attention to residents of all ages.
Well, no,
Um,
I mean, I'm saying we should choose. I mean, a tot lot is a tot lot, and we
sure.
clearly understand that's for up to 8 years old or something like that.
Right. And
So,
that's what I wanted to know
yeah,
is if you think we can have more than one thing, or if you think the size restriction kind of limits it to being one type of program.
I don't know. In my own opinion, if you have a basketball court, that speaks for itself, because it's always going to dominate the scape. And so even if you had a nice passive sort of area, then uh, if there's a big basketball game, well, hey, that takes that out. So I think you just decide and then you work it from that angle. And I am concerned about making sure that when we design any kind of seating area or anything like that, that it's with the real knowledge that we don't want people camping out in there.
Understood.
And then finally, I think there should be permanent signage. Whether it's that, that can stay, it's got lighting, you could have a evening and that kind of thing. But as to uh, operating it, dogs permitted or not, that's a real growing thing around here.
Mhm.
And so I think those are important questions, because you know dogs are here, but the kids roll around in
Right.
grass, right?
Right.
So I think this is an opportunity, because it's a big space. There's nothing wrong with it being a big space that's actually for sports,
Yeah.
individual sports, one of them walls where you bat the tennis ball up against it to practice, or something else, sports related, and even the stamina building as opposed to workout building, right? Because it becomes an alternative gym if you do go too far into the equipment, right?
So it does sound like we could maybe have some of those programs that maybe work a little more harmoniously together.
Right. Harmony in there. If it's sports, and like I say, the kids love to play basketball, and it's got lights so in the evening, but if there's a timing on it, time is important as when it's open. But what happens is they would have, let's say, at certain times you just have to tell the neighborhood, okay, we're going to have your midnight basketball tournament, or something like that, right? Which hopefully will be over on Shelburne, at the Shelburne. But that's it. Compatible. If it's a thematic, with just a little place for some parents to be there, and the sports that could accommodate different ages. But no, it can't be all things to all people.
Right.
Hey, Laura, I have a quick follow-up question. On the when you said, the kids are using the basketball court, you kind of have a general idea of the age range. Is it like from 12-year-olds to preteens, or even like young adults are using that basketball court, since you're
Young
familiar with the
adults
neighborhood?
and preteens. And I'm saying, what I'm saying is, if you had a basketball, I would be deliberative and say, have a girls program and a young kids program. You know what I mean? Because you don't want people. Of course, the big kids always get it. That's all I'm just saying, right?
Okay, understood.
You know what I mean? When kids are doing that, it's like you want to have it. You want to showcase that in there, because for a couple of times they had these girls. What do they call them? Where they teach basketball skills.
Oh, the clinic, yeah.
Yes.
They have something like that.
And boy, it was jammed. Girl.
Well, this is what we're hoping to find, is we want to find the programming that makes sense, and we need to build the park that accommodates that. I do want to make sure, I saw earlier, Michael, you had your hand up. Michael, would you still like to share your thoughts?
Well, I'll defer to Laura, because she actually will take the lead as the resident leader in the area. I'm sure she'll invite you to neighborhood meetings. We did have a Quincy Street resident try to fill out the survey, but she got confused by the format of the survey. So
yeah, it was tough. I tried to I just filled out something, but
okay. Laura, I would love it if you got in touch with me after this. Send me an email, and I will be happy to help you through that.
So we'll figure stuff out.
I submitted it.
Okay.
And I said I didn't want to be emailed. I wanted mail in the mail.
Okay.
But just questions. That's all. So I don't have one bias or another in terms of what it should be. Now that I'm looking at 75, I think everything should be made to accommodate seniors. No, I'm just kidding. But it's just that's a bias. But what I'm saying is that whatever turns out, it has to be thematic, and it has to be there has to be clear justification. That there are programs. Here's how we work from 8 to 18, or how we work with what theme we've put in this park. That's a big area. It shouldn't be just a bunch of nice equipment and then there you go.
Laura, any thoughts on that passive area, which is out front, which is like, have you seen anybody use those picnic tables for lunch or on the weekend, or playing chess, or any observations on that area outside of the basketball and fitness, how folks are using it currently?
People have used it. I don't see a lot of it, and I'm usually driving by or something. I don't see a lot of it. One thing, because the good thing is, in the last renovation, we did make it able to see all the way through it from the street, but it's still up out of the way. So the people who are playing chess and so forth, there's not like a gathering that's happening there. So if the city was promoting getting people over there for a little tournament or something, maybe. So I say you want to have a little of that, but around here we're kind of really at a time where we're pushing back against a lot of hangout space.
Okay.
Because we're fighting a battle around what to do around homeless and people who are in need of recovery and things like that. And so we don't want to incentivize a sort of hangout place happening. But if we make it so that, hey, we could bring more benches later, or we can not have the benches that are divided always, so people don't like sleep on them, that kind of thing. And lighting, lighting, lighting.
Okay.
Lighting. It's like really that's so key on
Yep.
that area, because it is right on Blue Hill Avenue, where you sometimes, you don't want prostitutes, others finding this space as a place where they can go.
We do generally find we do find that clearer programming does sort of activate spaces better. So I hear you about kind of eliminating those hangouts. We really want people to kind of know what they're supposed to be doing in the park when they're there.
Right. If you sponsor something, like even once or twice or three times a year, or a sport thing or something like that, then people will begin to think of it in those terms.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The other thing to kind of follow up from Laura is we do have a squatting and a drug use problem. So during the pandemic, we actually used the Quincy Park, especially I think another park that we utilized was under renovation. We used it on Saturdays and we were running stuff. And I had to go in there and I would pick up a couple needles every Saturday before our event. And that's unfortunately, that's one of the reasons why the Haynes has become a little bit more rigid on the open access to their playground area, because they were having
Exactly.
needles,
Mhm.
condoms, squatting, active sex use going on the property. So they had to react to that, unfortunately. So I think
Okay.
what's important is that we kind of keep the sightlines into the site. The other thing is also remember the safety issues and the history, because Trina Prasad got killed at this park. So that's why there was a separation from the adult use and
Mm-hmm.
older with the basketball court, and not really having any sort of tot lot or younger age. We were trying to avoid that type of mixing just in reaction to that. I think there can be things that can be done to utilize it. And I see neighborhood young people walking all
Right.
different ages walking over to the basketball court at different points.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
uh,
definitely.
yeah.
Definitely.
So I think there is ways that if we can kind of think about how we can be creative
Yeah.
on the follow through on it. Um,
Yep.
we're,
Tapping. But hey, I love it.
I,
And but
that's why I'm not pushing for pickleball.
Yeah.
oh, please, oh no, don't do that, please.
But I think there might be ways where, um, and I'm not sure how you could do a volleyball net or volleyball lines or some sort of other access for opportunities, or
Like
maybe
a
a space,
multi-sport.
yeah, or double dutch, or just kind of creating some other spaces for folks. But pretty much,
Yeah, double
well,
Dutch pad would be something, wouldn't it?
yeah,
But you have to spark it with a little tournament.
yes,
And
yes.
Can
and
you repeat the last thing, Laura? Sorry, I could not get that. What did you just mention? The last part?
the double Dutch pad, double
Double
Dutch
Dutch. Yep.
rope, jump
Mhm.
rope,
Jump rope. Okay.
right? But double Dutch,
Right.
like, hey, that would be a spark to have a double Dutch instruction clinic. I'll
Okay.
tell you, because I don't know about you, but for me,
Yeah.
double Dutch always was hard.
I
So,
trip over the ropes.
hey, getting in is the thing, but then you get scared.
Yeah.
But no, it could be exciting if we could come up with that, and then make sure that the city commits to a couple of years of maintenance and
Mhm.
and sparking, the issue once or twice or three times a year. That's all. And I guess I have to raise the issue security wise of cameras. Now, I'm not a fan of cameras mostly, and and drones and helicopters and all that flying overhead here all the time. But in a space for children, it should be discussed, and I want to hear what people say about it. I know people on a large amount of my generation are not camera favorites, but given our scenario, I think we need to talk about it. And can we do it in a way like we do other things where we say, we think right now we need it, but we want to reevaluate it in 3 years, 5 years, whatever.
Right. So I hear your concerns about safety, and this is another issue I've heard quite a bit. We're, as Parks Department, we're not in the business of enforcement. Our goal here is to kind of create a park that invites access through that kind of activation, through the types of programs we want. It's really great to hear about the spirit of Double Dutch happening in the neighborhood. I would love for us to build a park that could accommodate that. We need to be focused. Our goal is to kind of create a platform for these things to take place.
Right. Well, look up Double Dutch. You Google it. You'll see.
Yeah.
You double.
Oh yeah, I know.
I'm gonna Google that. Laura and Michael, the adjacent Clarion Apartments, any like sort of insight on that? Do you know those are like condos or those apartments?
Those are
Folks,
apartments. And the resident service coordinators get the notice, and we will follow through and make sure they get some of the information on this. But the thing about parks is that, again, we want to emphasize that you can design stuff with safety in mind. We have, we raised some issues around Children's Park on Intervale. Unfortunately, some of the issues are coming true, and so there's ways to kind of help make sure that it's more user friendly. But just note that when I was picking up needles, I had a couple just stick themselves in the stomach as I'm picking up needles on a Saturday morning. So it is something that you do have to have good sight lines, but they're doing it right in front. They didn't care. And unfortunately, the Haynes got on which is part of the school department, had the issues, but we have that issue all up and down, going down towards Dudley because people are getting pushed out of Mass and Cass. So the thing about it is that I agree with Laura. We got to figure out what are some measures that can be done. And they did put cameras in Children's Park, which is helpful because that way then it doesn't just have to be an enforcement thing, but the folks that do street outreach, they can look and identify and start to try to follow through on some of the people that are being addicted in the area as well.
Right.
one
And
of the things from a design standpoint with regards to sort of the deterrent to that, I mean, from our observation a couple of times, the trees sort of somewhat overgrown the sight lines. It just looks like a dull park. It's passive, but it's probably invites some of that. And from a design standpoint, just some bright colors, like it acts as a deterrent. So design can do a lot. If it's bright and inviting, that can provide a deterrent for such activities you're describing. So we'll look forward to sort of addressing that safety concern that you mentioned.
yeah, but I don't know how much that park is kind of nice in its style in the neighborhood, as opposed to our Holborn Street tot lot, which has the yellows and browns and reds and so forth. And so that's something to think about. But
Okay.
it should be. It's how we push the programming that'll bring in the young folks. And like I say, on that Double Dutch thing, the thing is there's nice color without it being toddler colors.
Okay. Yep. Anything do you want to mention to us how the park gets used Monday to Friday, from 9 to 6 when children are in school, parents are working? Is
Laura,
it
do you see
mostly
a lot of
empty?
people? Laura, do you see a lot of people walking dogs?
not necessarily up in there, but some. They come around and bring their dogs up in there. And I do see that regularly, and there's more dogs now. And so I think that's something to be addressed. And for me, it's like no dogs, right? And but hey, it's got to be addressed in a way that people begin to understand they have to deal with it. But I think that's an issue. People are still sitting in there during the weekday, even during the work day, and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But fewer, and that's when I think some people might go and just sit, but once it gets overwhelmed with, like, say, guys working out or something like that, then you don't see the people in there. So there's some people in there, but it's not used a lot during the day, except for, of course, in the summer.
Okay.
When school's not in, then of course it's like 7 days a week, 24/7. And that would be a good time to have nice signage to say the hours for basketball are expanded or whatever we're doing,
What's the end time you think the abutters would like to see?
Depends on which one, but I'm going to say, well, here's the thing, right? I think when it gets to 10 o'clock, people are pretty patient till it gets to 10 o'clock, which is plenty of time.
I'm sorry I do believe I recall when we went out there, there is a sign saying the park is open until I think it was 11:30 p.m.
Right. But like I say, the neighbor, what was asked is neighbors, are good until 10, and they'll tolerate. I mean, it's not like it's not like it's a meetup happening. It's been, a few kids in there, and sometimes they're a little louder at late, but not mostly, right? And that was because we were really trying to make sure the kids had a place to, be. And I think that has changed a little bit, if not mistaken, Michael, because and we're building a youth center in Grove Hall now, and other programs have come up. But at the time, we really needed to have it open as long as possible so people would have a place to be. But people really around 10 get a little nervous because other noises start happening, music or parties or things like that. And every now and then, the kids will, I guess, text each other and then show up. Right. So I think we should examine that.
The other thing is there's no electrical outlets, is there, in the park?
I would need to check our inventory on that. I don't know that.
I don't think so.
We would prefer not to, that there's not electrical outlets, because then that becomes a place for amplified music.
That's party.
But also people will start to charge their phones, and it starts to become a longer hangout.
Right.
So if that could be on our preferred not to. I mean, even like outside of some of our school buildings and some of our other locations, there's outlets that become has unintended consequences where people are squatting because that's their place to get electricity and stuff.
Well, what I say is that if we could, because I like the notion that you could have a community cookout or something, or a party or something like that, especially there. But if there's any electrical outlets, it has to be it has to be, what is it, recessed and locked, just like the boxes are locked, right?
So the good news is there is not an electrical outlet there presently.
Yeah. So I'm saying if there is, it has to be totally not accessible by the general public.
Right.
Max, for the community like a party or something, somebody wants to have a birthday party, do they have to get a permit from Boston Parks? Is there a
There is a permitting process to go through.
Okay.
Let's see. I was just about to ask. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought there.
The permitting for the spot, you should look at it because sometimes it doesn't come up. The Quincy part that comes up is the one on the other side of Columbia Road.
The other
So I
one.
know that it was a little difficult sometimes to figure out how to access the
Permit.
permitting.
That does make sense. I have had some difficulty finding anyone holding permits at this park. So
Yeah.
I did want to get back to this kind of activation, these kind of parties you're hosting or considering. Laura, is there a friends group of this park that might exist, or
No,
an interested groups that we could maybe consider putting together?
no.
No.
Is there a larger, like a neighborhood group? Like not like the Quincy, like to Mac's point, but is there like a neighborhood association where
Yeah,
people
there
are?
is a neighborhood association. There are more than one neighborhood association
Which
that
one is the most like
are.
immediate one around this, like, or with their names?
It's the Holborn Gannett Gaston Otisfield Betterment Association.
They meet on the last Mondays of the month through November, and then December. I think it's a little bit earlier because of the holidays.
Okay.
But it's in person. It's at Future Chefs, and we'll make sure that you're on the email list. And Laura can help follow through, and if you have stuff on the agenda that you want to raise.
Sure.
Please
What's
do.
the
Yeah,
name of the group one more
yeah.
time?
No,
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, yeah, if you can put in
Thank
the
you,
chat
Michael.
the name of the group, yeah.
and
And
then the Clarion management property managers or the tenant relations person definitely should be involved in it, included in
okay,
what's happening.
Yeah.
And the people across the street, I mean, really and truly, once where the a good place to get some seniors opinion would be the Ellen Jackson senior housing right on Quincy and Blue.
okay, yeah.
And they, because I don't know if it's them, but I've seen some other seniors sitting in there, but they might have some information that would be helpful to you.
I think it would be them because they don't like hanging out in their back parking lot because all these squatters kind of hang out in the back. So I think they would come up to the park.
Yeah, because it's right across the street. They
Yeah.
take a walk and go sit down.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I would also just reach out to the Haynes and get their feedback because they have older children and that may hang out at the park as well.
Okay.
Well, great. Thank you both for sharing those really great points. I'm really looking forward to staying in touch with you and kind of moving this forward. I did see, Angie, you joined late. I don't know if you would like to come off mute and share your thoughts. You certainly do not need to feel any pressure to do so.
And you identify who you represent from the District 7 office. She may be having a hard time getting off mute.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, can I say one more thing while we're waiting?
Sure. Yeah.
Accessibility. I've seen parks, you see, whenever anyone puts a park together that's really totally accessible, they all have to give tickets, so to not exceed the capacity. But something that's accessible is really nice. And to have something directed for people who might have some impairments or children that might have impairments, that would be nice.
Yeah, very good point. We always want to make sure we are inclusive. The new design should be inclusive for people of all abilities.
Children's Park is a good example. I think you guys did a good job on Children's Park.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. The funding. What's the budget you have for this?
I need to, let's see. I know that is available on the project website. I can pull that up for you really quick.
And please remember that most of our people are not jumping on the computer to go see what's happening.
Yeah, and I think we'll need to work together and figure out how we can kind of best engage with people who aren't on the computer quite as much.
The group that you mentioned, the neighborhood group that meets in person, and I think Michael, you're gonna put that in the chat.
Yeah, I did.
How well attended is it? Like when it's in person, like how many people show up?
Dozen people,
Okay.
and then the folks tell their neighbors what's happening, and we pass out a flyer
Okay.
after the meetings.
We only have an estimate for this right now. The construction estimate is $800,000.
Okay. But that's not the planning and design and preparation and all of that, right?
Yeah, design is a separate
Okay.
contract, but that's available too. I think in total we're near $1 million, slightly under.
Yeah, and what do you think, whatever it is you're going to do, what's the time that the area will be closed?
That kind of depends on when we start construction and what we ultimately decide to construct or ultimately end up constructing. Typically, I think construction projects on a park like this can usually last for a few months.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, and so weather-wise, we could miss a summer.
It depends on when construction starts.
Yeah.
A lot of times, if there's programming in the park that needs to happen at a certain time, we work with organizations like Yes to accommodate their schedules, make sure they're able to use their reservations when they've made them.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Angie, you're welcome to either come off mute or type in the chat, or whatever way you would like to communicate with us is fine.
Thank you so much. I just want to say hi. I'm coming from the District 7 office, Constituent Services. Although we are often at a lot of the development and different meetings, I actually have to hop off in about 4 minutes to head to the Carter Playground meeting. I just wanted to, I guess, say hello, that I am here, that I am listening, and that I'm going to be reporting back to the office to see how we can be helpful with all of the things that you are recommending, like lights, et cetera, because we always are looking into these kinds of solutions right now for many playgrounds. So we already have a lot of systems for asking and know who and what and stuff. So I hope that is helpful.
No, it's helpful, Angie, and thanks for attending. We do hope you attend a second meeting. Like this meeting was really listening to what the constituency, the community has to say, your problems, your needs, how you really want to envision this to be a beautiful asset to the community. So we'll come up with some design options at the next meeting.
Thank you so much, Angie. I think with that, we're going to conclude tonight's meeting. Samir, if you wouldn't mind advancing to the last slide here.
Yeah.
We only have a tentative schedule right now, as we showed on the timeline at the beginning of this presentation, but we'll plan on holding our next meeting sometime in the winter, likely after the holidays. I would expect sometime in either January or February.
Is that the last slide? Sorry, that's what it has the last slide. No?
Oh, okay. That's
there it is. Thank you. There you go.
Great. So again, you can contact me. My name is Maxell. My email is in the chat, as well as throughout this presentation. So, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Max,
Laura.
I'll stay on for a little bit.
Yes, thank you, Samir.